In this tutorial, we will write a small Java application with a main method that gets a database connection from our defined Spring Bean in the bean.xml definition file. We are doing this to contrast with writing the Java code to get the database connection that we did in our previous tutorial. For my YouTube students, this slideshow is part of a series in a YouTube playlist. The playlist URL will be listed in the description and comments of this lesson. All source code for this playlist will be available for free in a GitHub repository. These are the high-level steps we will perform in this lesson. First, we will create our JDBC Spring Beans connection module. We will use Maven. Then we will define our DataSource class with all its properties in our beans.xml definition file. And then we will write our main method code that will retrieve the data source through the Spring application class path context. And we will use this data source to get a connection to the database. Back in IntelliJ, and first we will create our new JDBC1 Spring Beans connection module. We won't be using an archetype. Finish. Adding our POM to Git. And let's update our POM. We will add properties. Since this is a Spring project, we will add the Spring version. And we will also add our new Spring dependencies. Cut and pasting to save time. Here we have Spring JDBC, Spring Context, and Spring Context Support. Now we will add our new DriverManager app. First we will add the new package. This is going to be a main method-driven application. Now before we can use our new Spring Bean connection, we have to define it in a new beans.xml file. Add the Spring facet in IntelliJ. Alright, so here we define our data source within the XML file. This is the MariaDB data source. We've got our server name, port number, we've got our full URL, which is the same that we've defined here in IntelliJ. And we've got our username and password. Now we're ready to code our logic. And we'll get our data source from the bean. And now we'll get the catalog name the same way that we did in our previous test driver. We get the connection from our Spring Bean data source. We get the catalog name and we return the catalog name. And as we can see, by introducing Spring, we've taken a lot of Java code out of the equation. Java code to set up our connection. So let's run our new driver app and see what happens. Excellent, everything works. And that concludes this tutorial, and we've seen how introducing Spring already helps with reducing our code and making it more readable. See you in the next tutorial.